It's April 21st, 2025, Easter Monday, and the world stands still. At 7:35 a.m., in the modest rooms of Casa Santa Marta, the heart of the Catholic Church stops beating. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, has returned to the house of the Father. He was 88. For over 12 years, this man, a son of Italian immigrants, a Jesuit, a revolutionary, led 1.3 billion Catholics with a radical vision of humility, compassion, and change. But who was the man behind the white cassock? How did a boy from Buenos Aires become the first Latin American pope, the first Jesuit pontiff, and a global icon? This is Pope Francis, born to death. A story of faith, struggle, and a legacy that reshaped the world. Grab a seat, because this journey is epic, emotional, and packed with revelations. Our story begins on December 17, 1936, in the vibrant Flores neighborhood of Buenos Aires, Argentina. Jorge Mario Bergoglio is born, the eldest of 5 children to Mario José Bergoglio, an accountant who fled Mussolini's fascist Italy in 1929, and Regina Maria Sivori, a housewife of northern Italian descent. The Bergoglios weren't rich, but they were tight-knit, their home filled with the aromas of Regina's cooking and the echoes of Italian folk songs. Jorge, a bright and curious boy, grows up in a city pulsing with tango, soccer, and faith. By age 12, Jorge attends a Salesian school where his love for learning blooms. He's a fan of literature, devouring Borges, Dostoevsky, and Hölderlin, and dreams of a future in science. After graduating as a chemical technician, he works odd jobs: janitor, nightclub bouncer, lab assistant. But at 21, a brush with death changes everything. In 1957, Jorge falls gravely ill with pneumonia. Doctors remove part of his right lung, and as he lies in recovery, he feels a divine call. "God spared me for a reason," he later says. That reason? The priesthood. On March 11, 1958, at 22, Jorge joins the Society of Jesus the Jesuits, known for their intellectual rigor and social justice. He studies philosophy in Chile, theology in Argentina, and earns a degree from Colegio de San Jose. Ordained a priest on December 13, 1969, at age 32, he's already a rising star. By 1973, he's the Jesuit provincial superior for Argentina, leading through a turbulent era, the Dirty War, when Argentina's military junta disappears thousands. Jorge, quietly defiant, shelters dissidents on church grounds, even giving his ID papers to a lookalike to help him flee. According to biographer Sergio Rubin, Alicia Oliveira, a former judge, recalls his anguish. He was critical of the junta, but he couldn't speak out. It wasn't easy. The 1980s see Jorge's star rise. He pursues a doctoral thesis in Germany, teaches theology, and becomes a spiritual director. In 1992, Pope John Paul II names him Auxiliary Bishop of Buenos Aires. His motto? Miserando atque elegendo, by having mercy, he chose him. It's a nod to St. Matthew's calling, reflecting Jorge's belief in God's mercy for the broken. By 1998, he's Archbishop of Buenos Aires, a diocese of over 3 million souls. In 2001, John Paul II makes him a cardinal. Jorge asks his flock not to travel to Rome for the ceremony, but to donate the money to the poor, a sign of the humility that defines him. As Cardinal, Jorge lives simply. He rides the bus, cooks his own meals, and visits the Villas Miseria Buenos Aires slums, where he washes the feet of the poor. During Argentina's 2001 financial crisis, he's a voice for the marginalized, criticizing corruption and inequality. His popularity soars, but so does tension with Presidents Nestor and Cristina Kirchner, who see him as a political rival. Yet Jorge's focus remains pastoral. He launches a missionary project: open communities, empowered laity, and aid for the sick and poor. By 2005, he's a contender in the conclave that elects Pope Benedict XVI. Few know it, but the stage is set for his destiny. February 28, 2013. Pope Benedict XVI shocks the world by resigning the first papal resignation in 600 years. The Catholic Church is in crisis. Clergy abuse scandals, declining attendance, and a Vatican mired in leaks and corruption. On March 13th, after 5 ballots, 115 cardinals elect Jorge Mario Bergoglio as the 266th Pope. He chooses the name Francis, inspired by Saint Francis of Assisi, the saint of poverty and peace. As Cardinal Claudio Humes whispers, "Don't forget the poor." During the conclave, Jorge's heart settles on the name. "How I want a poor church for the poor," he later tells the press. Francis breaks every mold. He's the first Jesuit pope, the first from the Americas, the first from the Southern Hemisphere, and the first non-European since Syrian Pope Gregory III in 741. Though ethnically Italian, his Latin American roots shape his worldview. He shuns the opulent apostolic palace for a simple room in Casa Santa Marta, saying it's better for his psychological health. He carries his own bag, buys his own glasses, and ditches the bulletproof Pope-mobile for an open Jeep, joking, "I can't greet people from a sardine can." The world falls in love with the people's Pope. His papacy is a whirlwind of reform. In 2015, he releases Laudato Si', a groundbreaking encyclical on climate change, calling for care for our common home. It's downloaded millions of times per Vatican stats and earns him praise as the patron saint of ecology. He revises the catechism to reject the death penalty, calling it inadmissible in 2018. He champions migrants, visiting Lampedusa in 2013 to decry the globalization of indifference. He promotes interfaith dialogue, meeting Grand Imam Ahmed al-Tayeb in 2019 and Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani in 2021. His 30-plus international trips to Cuba, the US, Iraq, and more draw millions, like the 3 million at Rio's World Youth Day in 2013. But not all is smooth. Francis faces pushback. His handling of clergy abuse scandals initially falters. He defends accused bishops, sparking outrage in Chile in 2018. After meeting survivors, he apologizes, accepts resignations, and issues Vos Estis Lux Mundi in 2019, setting new abuse policies. On LGBTQ+ issues, he's a paradox. His 2013 quote, "Who am I to judge?" about gay clergy sparks hope, but he rejects same-sex marriage and signs Dignitas Infinita in 2024, opposing gender reassignment. Conservatives call him too liberal. Progressives, not liberal enough. Yet his approval among Catholics remains high 70% in a 2023 Pew Research poll. Francis' health, always fragile, worsens in his final years. A lung excision from youth leaves him prone to respiratory issues. Knee problems and sciatica force him into a wheelchair by 2022. In 2021 and 2023, he undergoes abdominal surgeries. In February 2025, bronchitis turns into double pneumonia, landing him in Rome's Gemelli Hospital for 38 days. He marks his 12th papal anniversary from a hospital bed, enduring 2 near-death experiences per Biography.com. Discharged on March 23rd, he's ordered to rest for 2 months, but Francis, ever stubborn, pushes on. On April 6th, he makes a public appearance. On Easter Sunday, April 20th, despite a raspy voice, he blesses crowds in St. Peter's Square from his wheelchair and meets U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. "I was happy to see him, though he was obviously very ill," Vance later says. That night, Francis's condition worsens. At 7:35 a.m., on April 21st, he passes away in Casa Santa Marta from a suspected stroke or brain hemorrhage, per Italian media. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Vatican's Camerlengo, announces, "The Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His life was dedicated to the service of the Lord." The world mourns. From King Charles III to Ursula von der Leyen, tributes pour in. He was a voice for the marginalized, says Argentina's President Milei, despite past tensions. In St. Peter's Square, mourners weep. We saw him yesterday, says Marco Volpi, 69. We didn't expect such a tragic ending. Francis' body lies in state, first in Casa Santa Marta's chapel, then in St. Peter's Basilica, where millions pay respects. His funeral, set for April 25 to 27, follows a simplified rite he approved in 2024, emphasizing faith over pomp, per Archbishop Diego Ravelli. Within 15-20 days, 135 cardinals under 80 will gather in a conclave to elect his successor. Francis appointed 80% of them, stacking the deck for a progressive legacy, per Reuters. Will they choose a pope to continue his inclusive vision or revert to tradition? His impact is undeniable. Laudato Si reshaped environmental theology. His interfaith efforts bridged divides, and his humility living in a guest house, shunning luxury, redefined the papacy. Named Times Person of the Year in 2013, he inspired films, books, and even a rodent species, Wecamys franciscorum, named in his honor. But his legacy isn't just numbers: 1.3 billion Catholics, 252 cardinals, 45 countries visited. It's the lives he touched, the migrant he embraced, the prisoner whose feet he washed, the child he blessed. Francis once said, "The worst thing that could happen to the church is spiritual worldliness." He fought that with every breath, urging us to love the poor, protect the planet, and build bridges. As the great bells of St. Peter's toll, one truth rings clear: Pope Francis, the people's pope, will never be forgotten.